I'm Owen Bigland. This is the Inside Edge video blog. Okay, I saw an interesting headline, and I've seen variances of this headline here lately on YouTube and a bunch of other media outlets here. It was homeowners are withholding inventory from the Canadian housing market. And it went on to say that's why, prices, especially for condos, good quality one-bedroom condos, 2 beds priced under $1 million, inventory is ultra low, and the prices, at least for Vancouver, let's talk Vancouver here and Mount Pleasant and Kitsilano, my main market, a little bit in Burnaby and Richmond, are holding up quite well. Well, I had to laugh. I didn't know Canadian homeowners were obliged to have to sell their units. They're withholding inventory. Crazy. I mean, as I've blogged about many times here, and including that update I gave you guys last month, it's a bit of a Mexican standoff here still. Prices right now for pretty much every category are in a slow descent. Nothing too dramatic, especially considering the spike we've had in interest rates. Now that said, there was some rate locks that have expired now. Probably going to see these prices softening, continuing to soften through the winter here and maybe even into next spring. Who knows? Let's see. But what's moderating those drops is the inventory. But this is nothing new. I've said this many times over the years that, Vancouver homeowners are a pretty well-heeled bunch. They're all pretty much all using, when they bought, conventional mortgages. 20% down, 25% down, 30% down. Investors have to use conventional mortgages. We have got the highest percentage of clear title ownership here anywhere in the country. And I know that firsthand because I sell 10, 15, 12 homes a year that are clear title. My seller does not have a mortgage on title, charged against title. Or, they've owned these for 8, 10, 15, 20 years and have got a tremendous amount of equity. So in other words, they don't have a gun to their head to sell. If they want to sell, but if I can't get my price or something close to it, that's okay. I'll just stay put, wait another year, maybe wait till next summer. By then we might see a pivot in interest rates, because I think we're probably near the end of this interest rate hike sessions here. So don't be surprised by this time next year we see a pivot and maybe interest rates even come down a quarter point here or there. So they'll just wait for sunnier skies. Now, that said, there's always going to be some people that do have a gun to their head. They've over-leveraged. Maybe they bought a pre-sale that they had no intention of closing on and can't afford it. Maybe they're with some third or fourth tier lender paying 8, 9, 10% interest rates. They're out there. Or the guy that, has got a job transfer to Toronto or Montreal and has to move in 3 months. Those guys do have a gun to their head, and they probably will need to sell, and they will probably have to slash their price. Depending on what it is, that could get, a little ugly for some people, for sure. But overall, again, the inventory has been holding up pretty tight, it's keeping the prices at bay here for now. Saw an interesting little thing in Bloomberg here on a guy who is a realtor or a developer out in Toronto, commenting on the current Toronto real estate market, and investors especially, people that were buying condos and renting them out, differentiating between investors and speculators, which I often tell you guys too, night and day. Mr. Eby needs to learn the difference between an investor and a flipper. He thinks everyone buying a home is a flipper when they make up a very, very small percentage. They're almost non-existent flippers. That doesn't happen. But he says there's two very different real estate investor stories that are playing out right now. Investors who invest for the long term using fixed rate debt with plenty of debt coverage and can patiently buy and hold and are not panicking, versus the speculator who refers themselves as investors. Those are the ones that are panicking. So yeah, you got to know the difference between an investor who buys it well covered, putting down 25, 30%, putting a tenant in and keep it for 10, 15, 20, 30 years or more, like me. Or the guys who call themselves investors, but they are not investors. They're flippers, speculators, cannot hold these properties, bad interest rates, they bad homes, they paid peak price for them. They're having to supplement the mortgage $500 or $600 a month from what the tenant's paying them and can't hold out. There will be some of that. There always is. I've seen it many times over the years. Matter of fact, I'm looking for them. I'm always working with buyers, and if I can get one of these guys that's over leveraged or has a gun to their head, I'm going to be offering on these if it's a quality home for sure. But that's where the market is right now. You know, it's a bit of a tale of two markets. The one bedroom high quality market is much different than the luxury west side detached market. That market, definitely we're going to see more price softening there. It's much more susceptible to these when you start getting into 5.5%, 6% interest rates. But for right now, market's holding up fairly well. Inventory is still fairly limited, especially on good quality homes and condos. But anything can happen. We'll see where it goes later into the winter and into next year, and I'll give you guys the updates from the front line. I'm Owen Bigland. As always, thanks for watching. I'll see you next week.